This video is intended for the IATT students that have a hard time with the concept between CS5 and CS6 Photoshop and importing an object such as this character dummy in to use it as a sewing dummy for concept art. So this character is a very low character based upon image planes, okay? And what I did, I showed students how to get this into Photoshop so they can digitally paint over the top of it. This is a help video for those students. So some of the things I should say is frontal axes, very important. This is Z positive. The character is pointing in Z positive. The other character right here, the side view, is pointing to this side. That doesn't really matter too much as far as that goes. It's just the frontal view must be pointing in Z positive. Also notice that if I click on the poly object, its translates are 0, its rotates are 0, and its scales are 1. That means I modify freeze transformation if that is not the case. Okay. Then there's a plugin under Plugin Manager. Let me go a little bit slower there. Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and OBJ Export is clicked on. I file export selection. Object is highlighted for that. I'm going to export this character as Fred, the OBJ. Alright, let's look at Photoshop CS5 first. Another thing I did was show students that you can go online and generate graph paper. You can do this in a great deal of places. I think I used this right here, intercompetence.com, and down below I just use the settings of centimeters and grid spacing of 3, and the rest is 0.5. I use 11.17 or 11 to 17 inches here, and I downloaded that, and I'll save it here on my desktop. Okay, in Photoshop CS5, I'll open that first before I go to the next step. I'll open the graph paper up. Make sure the resolution is set to 300. And then I'll rotate that canvas under Image, Rotate Canvas 90 degrees clockwise. And then I'll go 3D, New 3D Layer from File. I'll click on Fred, the OBJ that I exported out of Maya. And there he is. And this is what's a little bit different between CS5 and CS6. What I'm going to do is just basically go down here to the camera tool and choose front. Okay, and if I need to scale it up, I'll go to the object tool, and then I'm just going to click on the object and drag up. I can now move the character over just a little bit using this arrow. And then what I like to do is set a background. First, I like to set a background as white. So I'll turn both of these off and fill this layer with white. And then another layer on top of that is black. Okay, so let's turn it all on. I got the object, I got this grid, and what I need to do is make it so it's easy to digitally paint over the top of it. Well, first off, let's lower the black to a gray. Let's lower Fred to something really low. And let's lower the contrast lines of the grid itself down to something that's barely recognizable but still there. And then lastly, I don't like to digitally paint in 300 resolution. It's almost impossible to do. I like to step up as resolution is concerned. So under image size, I lower the resolution to 72 after the fact. So that's how you set up the character sheet in cs6, or no, cs5, sorry. Again, this is cs5, very slowly. And let's look at cs6. Close this one out. Looks like cs6 doesn't like the fact that cs5 is running. Alright, cs6, a little bit different looked. So file open, again, look at the plain PDF. Same settings, 300 resolution. Again, I'm just going to rotate the canvas 90 degrees clockwise. And then go 3D, new 3D from file. Fred the OBJ. This one's a little different. In this case, I'm going to go here and go to camera view. And in camera view, I'm going to choose front. Okay. And then for the object, what I like to do is click on it, go to the mesh, and I'll type in an absolute of maybe 200 by 200. By 200. And that'll give it a little bit more, and then I can click here in the center and I'll mouse over the top of this until it gives me the ability to scale. Oh, and it's very sensitive right there. Scale uniformly. I haven't clicked anything yet. I'm just now clicking it, making sure that says scale uniformly. Notice it is dog slow and works 1/2 the time. So I'm just going to do it manually via numbers. I like numbers, they're a little easier to work with. Closer it is in the foreground, the easier it is to scale. So now you can see it works a lot better, and I can move the character via the arrows. So I can go back to layers. I'll set it up just like I did before. I'll uncheck these, make a new layer, set that layer way in the background by clicking and dragging it, fill that with a white, and fill this one with a black. Why do I do that? Because wouldn't it stand to reason I just fill it with a gray? Well, everybody's eyes are a little different, so when you go to black, I can turn this down to something that's comfortable, like let's say 40%, but somebody else it might like 30%. That's why I do that. Again, I drop down the grid just a little bit, and then I drop down Fred just until my eyes can focus. Alright, then again image size, and I can choose 72 after the fact. There we go. There's a nice character sheet that allows you to bring it into Photoshop and digitally paint over the top of it so you can come up with your own characters. I hope you enjoyed. If you had missed the first part about making the low poly dummy, that was something I handled inside class. This was basically how to export a model out of Maya into Photoshop and then bring it as a foreground object in a frontal view camera. So that was the tutorial. Enjoy.